We'll start this off with a simple one for the neck, the head nod. If you've ever been involved in grappling, you know just how much toll it can put on your neck. So having an exercise to offset that is very important. This is a great exercise for the cervical spine. You'll really feel it in between the shoulder blades and at the base of the neck, especially when you look down at your belly button. The exercise is really about looking down at that belly button. You hold it for a little bit, then you look up again at the ceiling. You get a few of these in before you move on to the next one. The next thing you want to do is start doing some back and forth head movements. I'm looking all the way over my shoulder. Those you feel a little bit more on the lower back. Now the next thing I'm going to do here is called the scorpion. This is a really, really nice one. I'm bringing my left foot over towards my right hand as much as possible. I get a stretch in my back as well as in my chest area. You can see that my hand, it's almost like I'm doing a door chest stretch or a wall chest stretch at the same time. So I get a really nice thoracic twist there as well as the chest stretch there for the anterior shoulder. This next one is a very martial arts specific routine. You want to think of going from your back, twisting over, and then having someone back into like a full guard position. We're going to abstract it a little bit. Instead of going to full guard, we're just going to do a nice toe touch here because I really like to warm up my lower back. I get pretty stiff down there, so any kind of thing I can do to work on that is good. What's great about this is you'll get the toe touch and you'll get to work on that thoracic twisting motion that you were doing earlier with the scorpion. It's called the scorpion roll. Anyone that's done grappling has probably gotten stacked at some point, when you're in guard or whatever. And this is a really nice one to prepare your body for that. And not only that, but it's a great stretch for the lower back. Your spine really feels good after doing a couple of these. I'll usually brace with my hands as I try to get my toes touching the ground. A lot of times in the morning when I wake up, I'm unable to touch my toes to the ground. It takes me a few. So maybe it might take me about 8 or 10 rolls to really get my toes touching the ground if I'm doing this in the morning time. Now this is a good one for the external rotation of the hip. A very important movement pattern for Jiu Jitsu. Here I'm doing some alternating 90-90s like you're going for a mounted triangle or maybe a swing around armbar or something. Same kind of muscle that would be used for an omoplata. So this area is really nice to work on and make sure it's nice and loose and limber. So a variation you can do off the 90-90 that's pretty jiu-jitsu specific is a 90-90 shin roll. And you'll see what I'm doing is I'm going from the 90-90 position, I'm wrapping my leg around, I'm putting it in front, and then I'm coming up into like a combat base at the end of a sweep position. Now, I like this one for a couple of reasons. One, by moving that leg, you get to work on the strength of the hip. So you're not just working on the stretch, but you're working a little bit on the strength and the dexterity of the hip. And when you get to the top, you really get a nice stretch in the groin. It's really nice. It's very jiu-jitsu specific. It's very similar to combat base. And by working on this, it really helps to improve your end result, your ability to follow up guys after sweeps. Now, if you're having trouble doing it with getting up, what you can use your hand a little bit there. You'll see I'm using my hand on the ground those last few to help me pop up. Now, a variation of the shin roll that you can do is basically a dynamic shin roll. So what I do with this is I roll onto my back, I sweep my hips around, cut one leg, and come up. Makes it a lot easier to get up without using a hand. You can really steal some of that momentum and get yourself up. Now, for men especially, we're really tight inside the adductors there. So this stretch it's very similar to being in a side control type of position, and I'm using it to really stretch my groin. I'm moving side to side. I'm moving in circles with my hips, really trying to loosen up all the muscles that are used in a side control. You know, the closer you can get your hips to the ground, the better for side control. Now here, this is one of my all-time favorites. This is actually a hip flexor stretch, and it's very similar to doing like a sprawl on a single leg takedown. You're driving that hip as close as you can to the ground. You really feel it in the front of the leg, and you're switching between each side. Sometimes you really got to pry that muscle group open. So next we're working on some bridging skills. Bridging is essential in Jiu-Jitsu for all kinds of reasons, especially off of your back. And by training bridging in various ways, you can really develop some mobility. Now here, I'm training basically like a sweep type of thing. Where I'm going from bottom mount to maybe possibly reversing to a mount. What's nice about this one is you get a really nice neck and shoulder stretch at the same time. Really nice in that area. Now a little bit more of an advanced version is if you were to do a sweep, go up to like a child's pose, roll back over, and then go to the other side. This way you get to work on like a lot more martial arts specific skills, and it takes a lot of control and coordination to hit that roll. That roll back, you'll know you have it right if you're able to land exactly back in the same spot every time. So you'll see me when I roll, my landing is right on the mat. Now, rolling techniques are great for Jiu-Jitsu. One is they can prevent a lot of injuries because you can learn how to roll out of certain techniques. And two, they just keep your brain nice and sharp. They're fun. They keep you nice and nimble and happy. So I like to get a few rolls in sometimes, just to keep my mind sharp and prevent any injuries. Another one you can do is like a sideways, like a Grammy roll, kind of like a wrestling thing. I won't do this one every time, but it is kind of an interesting neck stretch. It is kind of like a nice little fun thing. People will look at you. Now I'll finish up my routine with some break falls to technical stand-ups. And the way I do it is I break fall, I roll back, I use the momentum as when I'm coming back forward from that initial break fall to help me get up into my technical stand-up, to try to do it with as little energy as possible. I go down, I follow the roll up, and I bring my leg through for the technical stand-up. Down and up.